We're doing something a little different this time. We have a video from Brian Mudge sent in, who is racing for Herd this season with Herd Summer Racing League. This is a recording of the Race 1 Friday, first race of the week. We are still typical. Herd versus ATP is a big thing. Herd wants to beat ATP, and ATP wants to grab those top slots. ATP brought in some powerhouse here. They have Sherry, which is a ridiculous climber. I don't think we've ever beaten her on a climb. There's Thomas coming in here, another strong rider. Both of those are GC contenders right now. Mark Laufenberg is ATP as well, so they brought 3 riders. Herd came out in force. Brian Mudge, of course, who's videoing this, is the protected rider at this point. Steve Pritchard is here. Ernst Leckies, John Eilert, I hope I'm saying those right, let me know, guys. Joe Marino, and of course Bill from the Gorillas, who is once again Domestique coming out here. Bill just had a strong TTT performance last night. He and Brian, they finished, if I can remember right, let me look it up my notes here. Brian and his team finished second in the region and 5th in Mocha on TTT. So I would say they're not coming in fresh, but it doesn't seem to bother them in the least. So the plan is for Brian to win all the sprints and have as many Herd guys finish ahead of Sherry and Thomas to take as many points as they can. We expect Sherry to win the KOM. Thomas is a tough contender on those climbs as well. The more people we can get finishing ahead of them on these FTSs, the better. This is a points race. You get points for your sprints, you get points for the KOM, 2 points on the KOM, and 3 points on your finish positions. So everything matters. Most points wins. Let's get into this first sprint and see who can pull this one off. It's your standard cat and mouse. Neither Thomas nor Brian wanted to lead anybody out. They've all won a tail gun, and so as they're getting into this, they're just pedaling soft, pedaling hard. And now we're coming in, though. There goes Thomas. Thomas is wearing the fire socks, which is great because we get to see when he takes off. Doesn't seem to affect him much. He can still power through that thing. So here's Brian tail gunning the entire group, pushing up hard to see where he ends up here. First sprint is done. And we have Steve coming in first, Brian coming in second, Thomas third. Goal accomplished there. Brian's ahead of Thomas. Dominic came in fourth. He's riding for, is it TFC? I'll have to check his, yeah, TFC is his club. And then Joe came in fifth for the Herd. So now it's a matter of recovery, trying to get so a little bit of breath back before you start into the next 2 sprints that are just going to be back-to-back. As we start this rest state, we're going to find that our goal right now is for Brian to pretty much stay with Thomas, just hold his wheel. The rest of the team is going to support as they can. It is nice to see so many red jerseys floating around. Sherry is in that mix somewhere. Not too worried about her on a sprint, but she can surprise you on a sprint. You can't just write her off. She's a pretty tough competitor. So let's see how fast we can get to this next sprint. It's going to be the alley sprint, and check out how the points fall out in that place. So we're back to standard tail gunning techniques. Who can be the last man? Very different from real world racing. You want to be on the front, but in Zwift you can just ride through everybody like they're ghosts. So you may as well tail gun. Steve Pritchard drifts off the back. He tail guns Brian. Brian, again, right on Thomas's wheel. His whole goal is just beat Thomas. Steve's passing by, but everybody's riding the draft now. Thomas's fire socks go off, and we cross this finish line. We end up with Dominic Harris, TFC, coming in first. Bill is in second. Steve came in third. Brian came in sixth, but we got Thomas in seventh, so we at least stayed 1 point ahead. Sherry came in eighth. We're ahead of them on points, but that was a bit of a point drop there. We like the Bill to finish a little bit stronger than that. Now we've got to catch our breaths as we prep to head back down to Castle Park Sprint. Brian's still following the plan. I mean, he's right with Thomas. One thing that I didn't like, we talked about later, I wanted to DS this race, I didn't get to, but he and Thomas dropped off the back. I didn't like the team leaving him behind like that, but Brian says that he's quite happy to be one-on-one with Thomas because it was a clear field of view. He knew what had to be done in this situation. So the rider really gets to choose how it's going to be handled. We're heading into the sprint now as soon as we get around these turns. Thomas obviously got some distance on him. He doesn't have his 5 meters. There go the fire socks again. So now it's going to be an all-out sprint. I really felt like Brian didn't have any type of support going through here. He had to gut it out, and he gutted it out hard. When we get through this, we're going to find out that Steven came in first, Brian came in second, Thomas came in third. Once again, just nipping that point away from Thomas, point at a time, and Bill came in fourth. Now we have to catch our breath because we're heading over to the rooftop sprint. We got a little bit of time between there, but the riders drop back a bit. Now we got some support for Brian, but he's not going to let Thomas out of his sight. It's a matter of just parking there and staying with him. Now everybody's going to be trying to catch their breath. Those are 2 sprints just back to back, and everybody's exhausted. But you, like I said, you got ready for the rooftop, and then you have to get ready for the KOM. So it's a little bit easier ride heading in, but the sprint is going to be the sprint, and these points matter. Everybody has to get every point that they can get. So here we are at the sprint setup. Again, Brian's trying to find the back. He's with Thomas. I really felt like the team should have stayed with him a little bit more. He's got no draft going through this. About halfway through, he starts to pick up a draft. Thomas obviously went out quick, but Brian wanted that one-on-one with Thomas. Comes through here, and the results are Thomas in first, Sherry in second, Dominic in third, Bill in fourth, Brian in sixth, but his sixth was 639 thousandths of a second. I really felt like if he'd had that draft, he could have made up that difference, but he dropped a few points here, probably about 5 points, especially with Thomas finishing first and Sherry finishing second. He gave up a bunch of points on the prior sprint, but that's racing. We talked about that in another video. If it isn't set up absolutely perfect, you can drop points so fast on these short sprints. But now let's head up to the KOM, and this is going to where 2 points are available for each FTS spot, so a chance to both make up some points and maybe drop some people. So now it's a recovery time. We need to get to 16.8 before we start the KOM. We've got good team support going on right now. Everybody's trying to recover, but Brian's doing his job. He's staying with Thomas. The plan for this race so far is working out perfectly. We have a lot of points on Thomas. We've got Thomas sitting on his wheel. We need to make up a couple points based on that last sprint, but the KOM is going to help decide those points, and the finish points are obviously at 3 points apiece, are very critical. So let's start up this KOM. Let me know what's best down in the comments below. Should I just do the super fast racing when we go through the boring parts, or you want me to just do a fade and move into where it's more important? Not sure what's best. Is this giving you guys a headache? Anyway, let's stay on up the KOM for now. Sherry's obviously shot out to the front. She actually grabbed the C train as it went by, and I don't know if she carried it all the way to the top, but I saw her hitting 5.2 watts per kilogram. What a climb. I mean, she's light, run 100 pounds, 46 kilograms according to her profile, so we know she's going to go hard up those things, but the perfect timing for the C's going by. So here we are, Thomas and Brian battling it out again on his wheel. Brian's just performing excellent with the plan. We've got some herd support around, which is going to be great when we crest the top as we come through right now. So we start this descent, which is a great time to talk about the results. We've got Sherry, of course, in first. Dominic came in second. Steve came in third. Brian came in fourth. We have Thomas coming in fifth, and Ernst coming in sixth. So Brian finished ahead of Thomas. We nipped another point on the KOM. So these finish points are going to be critical as we're riding in here. So we've got some herd support going on. We've got Thomas right where we want him. It's probably going to become who's got the sprint legs left when we get to this finish point. And executed the plan exactly like we wanted to. We had some back and forth going on here. We had John in the mix as well, and there were some pulls, there were some attacks. They were trying to make Thomas burn some legs here. You know, 4 herd and 1 ATP is a pretty good mix right now. I know Thomas can't be feeling terribly well about this situation. So the finish is only 2K away. Everybody is thinking about that, and they're trying to get their legs ready. We'll slow it down as we get into the finish, but let's just let this go through as these guys are battling for position, trying to save a few watts, and it's all going to come down to these finish points. These points are so close between these two right now. Thomas puts on a small dig, catches back up, and we're 1K out now, so this finish is just about here. Look at that, we caught another group, which is excellent. Improves the finish point situation for Brian and for Thomas since he's with him. So as we're heading in, we'll slow this down. So here we are, 200 meters for all the marbles, and Brian, of course, taking off immediately, trying to get that sprint in. He's looking pretty good, coming in 7th. And let's take a quick look at the results. This is the on-the-road results. Obviously, we have Sherry in first. We have Dominic in second. I mean, that's just a random sign-up. He's not contending for GC as far as I know. We'll take a look here in a minute. But we end up with Mudge in 7th, Thomas in 8th. Again, we grabbed a few points there. Let's take a look and see what the final results are of this points race. Look at the size of this field. Look at Dominic coming in from nowhere to take first place. Sherry coming in second. Brian grabbing third with Thomas fourth. That worked out. I mean, Brian pretty much led Thomas on almost every section by a point everywhere. So good job there, Brian. We've got a few others finishing. We've got Steve Pritchard in 6th. We're looking through the herd guys. We've got Ernst in 7th. Where are the gorilla fellas? There's Bill in 9th. John Lett is 10th. Joe Marino, 12th. So good job, guys. A lot of these guys were in here for support of Brian, not so much for an individual race. So that's a great team effort. ATP came in, obviously, 2nd, 4th, and Mark came in 15th. He's probably a new rider, but hey, Mark, hang with it, and pretty soon you'll be getting podiums with everybody else. This is great to be able to talk about and not have to race. See you guys next week.